Please welcome Kevin Baughan. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. So thank you, Chris, and good afternoon. During my time at Innovate UK, I saw for myself how data and artificial intelligence is transforming our economy in areas as diverse as financial services and drug discovery. What a great opportunity, therefore, lies ahead for motorsport, the most data-rich sport on the planet. Good to see before lunch Ross Braun's AWS presentation on how Formula One is unlocking the value of data in order to create richer and deeper experience for its fans. Using machine learning and the vast wealth of F1 data to reveal technical insights on car performance, overtake probability, and pit stop advantage. Machines don't learn in the same way as humans. They learn by exploring over and over again the linkages between all aspects of the data and the outcomes that you are most interested in learning more about. And that's what makes machine learning so fascinating, because if machines learn differently from humans, then their perspectives and conclusions can also be very different from our own. Back at the MIA Business Growth Conference, we looked at 4 sources of inspirational experience, created by a 2x2 grid of technology and people, fans, and audiences. F1 Insights is a good next step for enabling fans to get closer to the performance of the technology, in the same way as celebrity websites enable fans get closer to their heroes on the people dimension. But what interests me is the starting points that we see, that race interaction of overtake probability starts to point towards an appreciation of the collective performance of the race. And the wider team story of a pit stop advantage points us towards a better collective engagement with what's going on. Now, both of these are important, as I would suggest it's the mind-thrilling collective performance of Hawk Trainers which attracts such diverse audiences to a Red Arrows air show, and it's our heart-stopping connections with Sir Mo Farah which achieved the collective engagement of a whole nation. When we focus on fans, we're often centered on the car and on the driver. But when we're focused on audiences, we are more likely to be centered on the race and the story. Fans may well seek insights, but I would argue that audiences seek drama. So how do we turn data into drama? Let's start by recapping on the example of Chris Froome winning the Italian Giro in 2018, a story which caught the attention of people who would not normally give competitive cycling a second thought. A story of human endeavour, of fighting from behind to take the lead, mixed with the controversy of how it was being achieved, connecting us emotionally with his race. Technology absolutely played its part, with Team Sky working out that if they could feed Chris at 10-minute intervals on the climb, he would have the energy needed to attack it relentlessly. To achieve this required everyone in the team to become involved as they tackled the sheer logistics of feeding him every 2 kilometres. The result, a great story, with Team Sky taking the unprecedented step of releasing a cache of data to BBC Sport, detailing his diet, power output, and heart rate. Data which would shine a spotlight on the full story behind this incredible cycling drama. So what makes a great drama? Storytelling has always been at the heart of the human experience, so it should not be a surprise that one of the most respected and quoted examinations of dramatic structure was in fact written by Aristotle 2,400 years ago. And we can find plenty of evidence of his thinking in today's films, such as First Man, which tells of the story of the race to the first moon landing. More of that in a moment. Aristotle is remarkably clear on 6 components that create the structure of a compelling drama. The first 3, plot, character, and reasoning, make up what Aristotle calls the imitation, or the storyline, perhaps in common parlance. The second 3, diction, melody, and spectacle, make up the medium through which the story is told. And Aristotle is in no doubt that plot has absolute primacy, followed by character and reasoning. From a dramatic perspective, the medium it's told through is secondary. And that's an important observation, because as engineers, it's very, very tempting to focus just on innovations in the medium through which the story is told, particularly the spectacle, be it virtual reality, augmented reality, or computer-generated imagery. An incredibly impressive set of technologies, but Aristotle would urge us to focus more on the imitation, the plot, the character, and the reasoning, or your fickle audience will go elsewhere for their mind-thrilling, heart-stopping drama. So when we look at how to unlock the entertainment value of motorsport's vast data resources, I believe we should have two broad categories in mind of the opportunities in front of us. Opportunities such as F1 Insights, which will deliver the richer and deeper experiences for the core motorsport fans, but also new approaches which rethink how the drama of motorsport is portrayed in order to build tomorrow's audiences. The focus on fans is a classic pull opportunity in my terminology, where innovation is applied to better serve an existing customer base, often delivering near-term returns. The focus on audiences is a classic push opportunity, where innovation requires the completion of a completely new ecosystem, bringing the motorsport and creative industries closer together to build stronger long-term returns from a completely new set of customers. So how do we go from data to plot? A race, after all, is not a premeditated drama. It's a story that is playing out in real time, in front of us. But it is a story. It has a plot, it has characters, and it has reasoning. In his work, Aristotle gives a lot of thought to what makes a good plot. It's not a chronological list of events, a simplistic history lesson of what happened between the start and the finish of a race. A plot is a linked sequence of events, a complete action of what would, based on necessity, and what could, based on probability, happen. And I think that's really helpful as we think about data, as it suggests that we can use analysis of data to project forward on how the plot of the race might unfold, not just for a single event, such as an overtaking situation, but for the complete action of the story. Aristotle is also clear that a plot is not centered on one person. It is, after all, not necessarily the best driver who wins the race. For him, a plot is centered on a complete action, invoking pity and fear in response to success or failure. Drama is above all about a change in fortune, and a change in fortune depends on action. So if we return to First Man, we can see that it is about a complete action, Neil Armstrong's journey to the moon. But it starts, for those of you that have seen it, with him bouncing off the atmosphere of the planet in his X-15 rocket plane, distracted by the news that his daughter Karen has cancer. Her death sets the scene for a transition from this horrible bad fortune to the good fortune which lies ahead. Neil is not the perfect astronaut. The film shows him struggling with many aspects of his training, yet he remains determined and calm, and as a result we feel pity for him and for his wife Janet, who expected a quiet life when she married an engineer. Early space travel is incredibly dangerous. And we see this when Gemini 8 goes into an accelerating spin after docking, and when the Apollo 1 crew lose their lives in a fire during their launch rehearsal. Because we can associate with Neil and Janet, we fear for them and connect with their courage. Aristotle would approve. It's a plot which is a complete action. It invokes both pity and fear in response to success and failure. And we can see the interplay of plot with character and reasoning, the other key ingredients in a compelling imitation or storyline. Character provides the moral dimension of the story. what would that person want to do in that situation? Reasoning provides the intellectual dimension of the story. What is it feasible for that person to do in that situation? And once again, I find this very helpful because we can then use data and an analysis of data to understand from a people perspective how the drivers are behaving in order to project what they would want to do, as well as analysing the data from a technical perspective to understand what it would be feasible for them to do. Fans will enjoy knowing what it's technically feasible, but I would argue that an audience relishes knowing what the drivers would really want to do. A character needs to be good or understandably bad for us to feel pity, and they need to be inherently like us at some level, even though obviously more capable, if we're going to feel fear for them. And it's interesting that the goal of a great drama is to instill fear, such a distressing emotion. But you only feel scared when you have too much fear. You feel blasé or reckless with too little fear. But with the right amount of fear, you can vicariously feel courage. And that's the job of the film to achieve. If bringing the drama of a Hollywood film into motorsport seems like too big a leap to make in one step, then maybe the BBC Two series, Britain's Ultimate Pilots, may give us some insights on how to walk before we try to run. I think it's a useful corollary. In this particular episode, we follow the story of Johnny, a Typhoon pilot in the Bournemouth Air Display. But the BBC needs to reach a diverse audience, just like the one that is gathered on the beach to watch this air show in the rain in a typical British summer. The storyline is not about a single event. It's not about the air show. It's about Johnny's journey to become a Red Arrow pilot. A change in fortune in his case from a great job, Typhoon, to his dream job, being a Red Arrow's pilot. We get to know Johnny. He is incredibly talented. But you know what? He also goes to the gym and has to work out just like the rest of us. And we start to feel like we have something in common with him, which is important because then we can feel fear for him. The programme builds up the tension when Johnny learns of the earlier tragic crash at Shoreham just before his event. And the narrator explains how Johnny's G-suit doesn't help him with negative G-forces. So we all fear for Johnny as he goes into an inverted turn. We don't just see a reading of -3G, we see his blood-filled face as he battles to complete the turn. So I hope this helps to set the scene for today's panel in a very different area of discussion. Before lunch, we had the Ross Braun video and the plans of F1 to create richer and deeper experiences for motorsport fans, the lifeblood of your industry. After lunch, with the help of Aristotle, I hope we started to explore a little bit how a fusion between the motorsport and creative industries might enable us to build a much more diverse audience in the future. Two entertainment growth opportunities, both fueled by motorsport data. Thank you.